Well, we did it. We made it to Christmas, and now it's so clear who's actually good in the NFL. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. Maybe by New Year's we'll know, Grossi. And today we are going to be ranking the top 10 teams heading into the penultimate week of the 2025 NFL regular season. That's right, there are only 2 regular season games left this season, and it has been truly one of the most chaotic seasons that I have ever witnessed. It really feels like whoever makes it into the playoffs, whatever 14 teams punch their ticket, they have a chance to go to the Super Bowl. I feel like any one of these teams can go on a heater and win 2 or 3 games if they're in the wild card, and ultimately they could be playing in Santa Clara this upcoming February. And after week 16, which was on all of the drugs, there are only 2 playoff spots in each conference left. Now, there is still some divisions to figure out because the only division that's actually been clinched is the NFC East, where you have the back-to-back champs, the Philadelphia Eagles. But other than that, everything is wide open. Home field advantage is going to make a huge difference in this postseason. And yeah, buckle up, because it's about to be a crazy finish. Before we get to our honorable mentions, I want to do a big shout out and thank you to you all, not only for the amazing fundraiser that we had this past Saturday where we raised over $181,000 in just about 10 hours, which is absolutely insane. All of that going to Street Angels Milwaukee Outreach, one of the smallest charities we've ever fundraised for, with only 5 full-time employees and 5 part-time employees. I got a chance to talk to the co-founder on Saturday on the phone. They said that this was the largest charitable donation they have ever received in their organization's history. So thank you so much for joining me this past Saturday and doing a ton of chaotic good. And in addition, this past Saturday, we hit 950,000 subscribers. And since then, it has been flying up. We've been getting a ton of subscribers recently, as these last 50K are going to go quick. And so in an effort to try and get to 1 million subscribers by the end of the football season, feel free to subscribe. Of course, there are no sponsors here whatsoever. It's completely free to do so. It's a free show here, and thank you so much for the support. We're gonna go get that million. Starting off with our honorable mentions, you got the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers, able to pull off yet another win this past Sunday, and it came down to the very wire. You had an offensive pass interference call on Amon-Ra St. Brown, which negated a Jared Goff touchdown in which it was lateral and he was able to jump into the end zone. And the ref, he said, hey, it's a touchdown, the Lions scored. However, and then Ford Field completely went silent, giving the Steelers their 3rd win in a row, and currently they are sitting pretty at the 4 seed in the AFC. Now for the Steelers, they have not clinched anything yet. The Ravens have an important game with the Packers, but with Lamar Jackson out, who knows what's going to happen on Saturday, because I don't even know if the Packers are going to have a quarterback with Jordan Love and Malik Willis injured, but we'll get there. But the Steelers, after that win on Sunday, have full control over their destiny. Yes, they're going to be taking on the Ravens in the last week of the season, but they were able to show some damn grit this past Sunday. Jaylen Warren had a phenomenal day on the ground with over 140 yards. Kenneth Gainwell was absolutely electric, especially in the receiving game with that insane touchdown grab. And now, once again, as always predicted, Mike Tomlin has yet another winning record under his belt, which is honestly just crazy that he's been able to do this for this long. And for the Steelers, they got back-to-back divisional games because not only are they taking on the Ravens in Week 18, but they have a date with the Cleveland Browns next week. And while it would be the most Steelers thing ever for them to win against the Lions and then lose against the Cleveland Browns, the Steelers got to be feeling pretty good right now. Aaron Rodgers was hyping up Mike Tomlin at the end of that game, and who knows, maybe there'll be some Aaron Rodgers magic left in the postseason. But first, they got to get there. Then our second honorable mention, you got the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers getting a big-time win over their division rivals, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bryce Young had yet another really good game, and they were able to put together a decent enough running game. They basically just spread the ball around, getting over 100 rushing yards, and ultimately that defense came in super clutch, getting that game-winning interception, and it really feels like this draft class has really stepped up. Not only for the defense, but Teteroa McMillan, he has been a stud for the Panthers, and they're another team that is in full control of their destiny. Just like the Steelers in the AFC, the Panthers are currently in the 4 seed in the NFC. However, they have not clinched a playoff spot just yet. They still have 2 tough games left on their schedule. They got to play against the Seattle Seahawks next week, and then they close the season in Tampa against the Buccaneers. But for the Panthers, you have to be freaking happy for them, man. You look at Bryce Young at the end of last season, and there's some optimism in Carolina, and you look at where they are now. Dave Canales is definitely the guy for Carolina. Bryce Young has evolved this season and developed into a really nice starting quarterback. We'll see, of course, how his future is going to hold and if he's going to be able to be consistent. But if you're a Panthers fan, you got to love what you are seeing right now. And who knows, the Panthers could very well knock off the Seattle Seahawks. They have a tendency to do that and beat the top NFC teams at the time because they did it against the Packers and against the LA Rams. But for right now, the Panthers land themselves in an honorable mention spot, and those kitties are going to keep on pounding. And then finally, our third honorable mention, you got the back-to-back NFC East champs, the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles, after losing 3 games in a row, they have rebounded quite nicely, knocking off the Washington Commanders this past Saturday. No Jaden Daniels. They just had to deal with Marcus Mariota, who did wind up leading that game early, and they were left with Josh Johnson, who, he couldn't do a whole lot against that very good Eagles defense. On top of that, Saquon Barkley was able to have a very nice day on the ground and eventually close out that game. And for the Eagles, this marks the first time in 20 years that they were able to be back-to-back NFC East champions. And they got to be feeling pretty darn good about it. They're currently sitting at the 3 seed with the potential to get the 2 seed if they're able to win these next few games and they have some other games go their way. And to be completely honest, I still don't know who the Eagles are because their consistency drives me insane at some point. It's going to be really interesting to see how they play these next couple of games. The big game is next week against the Buffalo Bills, which will be a great litmus test for both of those organizations. We'll see if that run defense is going to be able to stop James Cook because that has been a problem area for them this season. Of course, when they played the Bears ran all over them, and that was in Philadelphia. And so the Eagles are going to have a chance at redemption. We'll see if they can stop James Cook, but ultimately, the Eagles are back in the postseason, and their journey to be repeat Super Bowl champions has officially begun. Starting off with number 10, you got the Houston Texans. The Texans, good God, they got the win over the Raiders, but I have to imagine they would like to forget this game ever happened.
They won't let you remember.
Sorry.
That was, a little too close for comfort. I predicted that the Texans would absolutely wipe the floor with the Raiders, but that is not what happened. Ashton Genty ran all over that defensive front, and he was also their leading receiver. But the most important thing, Stroud's fans, is that you got yet another win. And with the Broncos' loss this past Sunday, the Texans now have the longest current win streak in the NFL, winning their 7th straight game. And for the Texans, you looked at midway through the season, they looked like they were dead in the water. Their defense has been phenomenal all year, but their offense could not catch up. Whether it was CJ Stroud, who was banged up and Davis Mills had to step in, or even when CJ Stroud was playing earlier this season and that offense just could not get it going. That offensive line didn't look good. They had a lack of receivers. They had no running game, but they really have put it together. Nico Collins has been phenomenal this year, and while of course I do still miss Tank Dell, they've been really able to adjust this year, even without their main weapons, and hell, they don't even have Joe Mixon, and they're able to still win all of these freaking games. And while they are currently the 7th seed, they have not clinched anything yet. The Jaguars are of course leading the division, but the Texans have it all in front of them, but they do not have an easy schedule remaining. They got to take on the LA Chargers, and then they finish the year against the Colts. And while I do have a feeling that the Texans might be able to win those remaining 2 games, the Chargers, they have been a problem this year, and so I think that's going to be a really good test for both teams. So the Texans are going to drop down a little bit because of that unconvincing win over the Raiders, but as I mentioned, they have the longest current winning streak in the NFL, and let's see if they can win with a little bit more oomph next week. Then at number 9, you got the LA Chargers. The Chargers coming in at number 10 last week on the power rankings, moving up a spot after knocking off the Dallas Cowboys. And Justin Herbert, he's got to be happy, as this past Sunday was the first game this season where he didn't get sacked.
Lord, it's a miracle!
The Chargers were able to impose their will against the Cowboys, and Justin Herbert has been playing incredibly well, even behind a very battered offensive line. The Chargers defense has definitely stepped up this season, and while George Pickens did have a nice day against them, the Chargers shut out the Cowboys in the second half. So yeah, they're pretty darn good. They have now won 4 in a row, and their last 7 of 8, the one loss coming, of course, to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the Chargers have officially clinched a playoff spot, as they are currently sitting at the 5 seed with an opportunity to still steal the division from the Broncos. As I mentioned before, the Chargers are taking on the Texans next, and then they have a date with destiny against the Broncos week 18, which who knows, that could wind up being for the division depending on how things shake out. And let's see if they can keep on winning. Number 8, you got the Buffalo Bills. The Bills. Well, it wasn't the prettiest game, but at least the Bills were able to avoid Myles Garrett breaking the sack record against them.
And there is only one thing we say to death. Not today.
The Bills not only clinching a playoff spot after the 49ers defeated the Indianapolis Colts, but have won their last 4 straight games. James Cook was a monster on the ground, 16 carries for 117 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Bills ran all over Cleveland with 164 yards total on the ground. However, their passing game was a bit lackluster. They definitely are missing a true wide receiver one. Keon Coleman was yet another healthy scratch, as this is multiple times this has happened this season.
Big dog, you supposed to be our number 1.
Josh Allen didn't have a single touchdown on the day. However, they were able to find a way and get a win against a pretty damn solid defense, though as of late, I am questioning the Cleveland defense just a smidge. And for the Bills, it is not over yet. While the Patriots have clinched a playoff spot, the AFC East is still up in the air. They are going to need some things to go their way, and the Bills, like I mentioned, have a very tough game against the Philadelphia Eagles, where that defense will definitely be tested. So the Bills, like the Texans, are going to drop down a spot, even though they did get the win. A win over the Eagles next week would catapult them right back up these power rankings. And so let's see if they can get it done. Then number 7, you got the San Francisco 49ers. Good God, the 49ers just making me look like an idiot that one time I left them off the power rankings, because they're pretty darn good. They have won 5 straight games, and they just put up nearly 50 points against Phillip Rivers and the Indianapolis Colts on Monday Night Football.
Future's now, old man.
Brock Purdy threw 5 freaking touchdowns, and while their defense definitely was questionable at times during that game, their offense really was not slowing down. There was one interception at the very end where they probably could have ran the ball because CMC was having himself a nice night, but ultimately they wound up getting a pick 6 after that, so it really didn't matter. But for the 49ers, they have complete and total control over their destiny. They got a big game Sunday Night Football against the Chicago Bears coming up, and then they finish the year against the Seattle Seahawks. And if the 49ers wind up winning those last 2 games, they will be the number 1 seed in the NFC. And because the Rams lost this past Thursday, the 49ers were able to jump them in the standings and currently hold the 5 seed in the NFC. And again, I'm just super impressed with the San Francisco 49ers, not only winning 5 straight, but just the fact that they have won this many games this season with all of their major injuries. Hell, they don't even have Brandon Ayuk because that's going on. But even the possibility of getting Fred Warner back for a late postseason run, that has to excite 49ers fans, and it will be made a lot easier if they're able to get that first round bye. But for right now, the 49ers are in complete and total control of their destiny, and who knows, maybe they'll be playing at home in February.
God forbid a white guy has a little bit of emotion.
Then, at number 6, you got the Chicago Bears. Oh, God, I don't wanna. The Bears, well, they got a victory over the Packers, and the Pope provided yet another miracle for Chicago. The Bears, after being shut out in the first half, they were able to rally back in the final 5 minutes of that game to tie the Packers. Caleb Williams was playing phenomenally well under pressure. The Packers had a 47% pressure rate against Caleb Williams, and he threw 2 touchdowns under pressure. And of course, that last incredible throw to DJ Moore to seal the game. And now the Bears, they got it all in front of them. It's easy for them. They win one of their last 2 games. They are the NFC North Divisional Champions, which is pretty insane considering heading into the season with a brand new head coach. You still had some questions about Caleb Williams. Ben Johnson has really turned that franchise around, and he really seems to have lifted that culture. Caleb Williams has definitely developed this season. They were able to find their run game once again, and their defense, now that it's mostly healthy, they've been able to do pretty darn well these past couple of games. However, they do have a tough stretch ahead of them. They got the 49ers on Sunday, and then they got a Lions team week 18, which who knows if they're even going to be contending for a playoff spot, but I'm sure Detroit is going to want to play spoiler. And while there definitely are some critiques that you can make for the Bears, whether it's a slow start in the first half or the fact that Jordan Love got knocked out earlier in that game, Malik Willis was playing really darn well. The Packers were able to establish the run and run all over Chicago, but the Bears were still able to rally back. This has happened multiple times this season, and they just feel like a gritty football team this year. And because of that, much to my chagrin, the Bears remain at number 6. And I hope to see them again in the playoffs. Then at number 5, you got the Denver Broncos. The Broncos, whew! Well, the Packers couldn't get it done, but the Jaguars sure did as they put belt to ass on the Broncos this past Sunday.
Look at John Cena's face. Cena has been beaten, bruised, battered. John Cena took the beating, and now Cena is all over the man.
It was a long day for the Denver Broncos, and even though Bo Nix was able to throw over 300 yards once again, just like he did against the Packers, they were just not able to score enough points as Trevor Lawrence was able to dice up that secondary. And while the Broncos currently still have the number 1 seed in the AFC, there are some concerns with Denver Nation at the moment. Their defense has definitely not looked as potent these past few weeks, and hell, even with the Packers game, the Packers were up 2 scores before Micah Parsons got hurt, and Zach Tom, and Christian Watson, and Evan Williams, but it really just feels like ever since that Commanders primetime game, their defense has definitely seemed off. They were still able to sack Trevor Lawrence 5 times on Sunday, and so I don't think all is lost for Denver. And like I said, they are still the number 1 seed, but the Jaguars were able to go into Denver and get a very convincing win. And now for the Broncos, their remaining schedule is against the Chiefs on Christmas Day. They won't have to deal with Patrick Mahomes or Gardner Minshew though, so that should be a win. And then they have a Week 18 game, which definitely could be the final Sunday Night Football game of the year against the Chargers, a team who has looked very good as of late, are on these power rankings, and who knows, that could even be for the AFC West. But for right now, the Broncos hold on to their spot in the standings, but they fall down these power rankings, and let's see if they can get a bounce back win on Christmas. Number 4, you got the New England Patriots. The Patriots pulling off an incredible comeback this past Sunday night against the Ravens, just when you started to doubt them.
You underestimate the power of the dark side. If you will not fight, then you will meet your destiny.
Their biggest fourth quarter comeback victory since 28-3 in the Super Bowl. And Drake May, at the start of that game, did not have his best performance, but was able to rally his team, putting up some really damn clutch throws, and it was the defense forcing a couple of key fumbles, whether it was against Derrick Henry earlier in that game or at the very end against Zay Flowers to eventually seal that game. It was a great team performance, and this was done missing some major pieces on that defensive line, as Derrick Henry was able to have himself a game when Harbaugh actually decided to utilize him. But the fact that they were able to get a gritty win on the road, yeah, you got to feel pretty good about the Patriots, especially after they just lost against the Buffalo Bills. If they had dropped 2 in a row, who knows? Maybe we're talking about the Bills as potentially AFC East favorites. But things went their way. Mike Vrabel, good God, hell of a coach, up there for Coach of the Year. And just like the Chicago Bears in the NFC, the Patriots currently sit as the 2 seed in the AFC. They have it all in front of them, still have a shot at the 1 seed. But for now, the Patriots get themselves another win, and I guess you can say the Empire has struck back. Number 3, you got the LA Rams. The Rams. I'm not going to drop you too much, LA, because good God, that was That was some collapse. I mean, let's be honest here. The scriptwriter gifted the Rams with a 16-point lead in the fourth quarter, 2 Sam Darnold interceptions, and yet they somehow still lost that game.
I lost. Wait a minute, I'm not supposed to lose.
It looked like the Rams were going to be coasting to another win over the Seahawks, sweeping them for the year. But that game goes into overtime. Sam Darnold ascends to another plane of existence. And after 2 two-point conversions in a row, they get a third in overtime to win that football game. And there's plenty of things that you could dissect from this game, whether it's Sean McVay's conservative play calling in the fourth quarter or the defense completely crapping the bed at the end. Yeah, it was a rough loss for the Rams. The good news, I still believe in LA, and I think they're a really good team. Unfortunately for them, they no longer have control over their own destiny as they are now in the 6th seed after that loss because the 49ers and the Seahawks just keep on freaking winning football games. However, the Rams still, of course, have clinched their playoff spot, so they don't have to worry about that. And they have the easiest schedule remaining out of those NFC West teams because they got to take on the Falcons and the Cardinals. So definitely 2 winnable games in front of them. They just got to hope that the Seahawks and 49ers actually start losing one of these days. But for LA, a really tough Thursday night. Time to rebound on Monday Night Football because that can't happen again, right? Right? Number 2, you got the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks. I mean, I just said it about the Rams, man, but holy crap. Sam Darnold, after struggling in that game, having 2 crucial interceptions, he was able to rally that team back, and I'm sure he felt like Tom Brady once that game was over.
Just like we drew it up. Just like we drew it up.
The Seahawks, after that insane comeback on Thursday night, currently sit as the 1 seed in the NFC. They have complete and total control over their destiny. If they win out, the road to Santa Clara is going to run through Seattle, which, as you know, is one hell of a place to play. And while this was definitely a miraculous win, you got to give some credit where credit is due. In a game where the run game really wasn't getting things going and Sam Darnold was struggling, the fact that that team was able to rally back late in that game, the defense really stepped up at the end of the fourth quarter as the Rams continuously went 3 and out, giving the ball back to Seattle's offense, who was able to make the most of it. And while the Rams were able to march down the field and get a touchdown, the offense of the Seattle Seahawks was able to rally right on back, making that gutsy call to go for 2 and ultimately winning that football game. And now for Seattle, they got the Carolina Panthers next, which is a very intriguing game. And if the Seahawks are able to get a win, they just have one more game left against the San Francisco 49ers, which who knows, that might wind up being the final Sunday Night Football game of the regular season. All I know is bring out your popcorn because this NFC West is going to get even crazier. And finally, at number 1, you got the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yup, that's right. After taking down the Broncos this past Sunday, Duval finds themselves at the top of the power rankings. And Jaguars fans, they must think they're dreaming right now.
Kind of felt good, didn't it?
Is this real life?
The Jaguars put belt to ass against the Denver Broncos. Trevor Lawrence, good God, he hasn't thrown an interception in exactly a month. And in that time, he has thrown 12 touchdowns. A month ago, when Trevor Lawrence threw 3 interceptions against the Arizona Cardinals, I think there was a lot of people wondering what the ceiling of the Jaguars was. They were a very inconsistent football team. They got blown out by the Rams, but then they started putting things together. Trevor Lawrence has gone on this absolute heater. Travis Etienne has been playing really damn well, and that defense, oh, that defense, they rank 10th in points per game allowed, and they are currently the best run defense in the NFL. We won't really talk about the secondary, but their run defense is really damn good, and they were able to shut down the Denver Broncos and anything they were trying to do this past Sunday. And take it from a Packers fan, it is really tough going against that Denver defense, especially on the road in Denver, but it didn't seem to matter to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are now currently sitting as the 3 seed in the AFC. And if I'm being completely honest with you, I'm just really happy for the Jaguars. Liam Cohen has definitely been the right guy for the job, and it really really feels like this Jaguars team is different this year. The Jaguars should be favored in their last 2 games as they have the Colts next week and then they finish off the season against the Titans. So it is very possible that not only do the Jaguars win their division, but if things pan out for them, they could find themselves as the 1 seed. And who knows, maybe the road to Santa Clara is going to run through Jacksonville in the AFC. But as of right now, the Jaguars get their much-deserved spot on top of the mountain. And as Liam Cohen said, Duval. So just to recap, at number 1, you got the Jaguars, 2 Seahawks, 3 Rams, 4 Patriots, 5 Broncos, 6 Bears, 7 49ers, 8 Bills, 9 Chargers, and 10 Texans. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Who should be on this list? Who should be off of it? We're coming down to the end, folks. Only one more power rankings in the regular season. Let's finish this season off right. You can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com. And a big shout out and thank you to all the Patreon and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.